Yo, what's up, lads and ladies? It's me, your boy Alex, back with another video. And you've probably seen the title, so you know what this video is. But I do just want to say this is purely speculation. If any of it happens to be true, or it happens, it's purely chance. I have no insider sources, no insider information. This is purely put together with help from information on Diskytian's Twitter and Max's Maple blog, which I'll link in the pinned comment below. And using the information that they've put available to the public, I've been able to sort of work out my next 6 months prediction. So big thanks to them, because without them this wouldn't be possible. And here we go. As we all know, at the end of June, or 2 days from posting this video, Cali's going to be released, and that'll sort of end the part 1 of the Saviour patch cycle. There's another VAC pet that comes with that as well, but we've gone over all of those in previous videos. What I want to talk about is July. The first part that comes with Saviour Part 2 in July is the guild system. It's a CMS, TMS, revamped version of the in-game guild currently. And I've gone over this slightly before, but in other seas, other region versions, you can buy node stones. There's a buff from guild skills that gives you more Sacred Force. There's a Sacred Force training area that supplies more XP than Odium for a 200 sack requirement, and a guild skill that gives it constant 50% burning, which is really good for reboot servers. I expect GMS to change this quite a lot, but we can be hopeful. I really hope we get a sort of carbon copy of the CMS or TMS versions, because they're absolutely insane. There's loads of guild missions that come with it, a guild shop, loads of interactable areas, and it looks really cool. So I'm really excited for this content. I can't wait for it in a couple weeks' time. In the same patch, we also get Shangri-La, which is a story area after Odium. This is a 275 area, and it's where Calling is placed, but we'll get into that into a second. Currently, in the Saviour patch version of this content, there is no grinding areas. It's purely a story map. And in New Age, it gets expanded upon to have a full training area with mobs and elite bosses and all that stuff. But for now, it's purely just for story. But it's a fantastic looking area. The music you're hearing in the background is from Shangri-La. This is For Auspicious Beasts. It's a really good soundtrack. But the story here is really cool. And of course, with that comes Calling. Now, she is a new boss, and she's a very, very unique boss, in which she's 3 phases. Phase 1 splits your party into 2-2-2, to fight 3 different bosses at once. They all have different mechanics, but they all share a similar life gauge. You'll see at the top that 1000. That's a fear gauge, and that is your life system. Dying and filling up the gauge on the screen contributes to decreasing that gauge. When it hits 0, you lose. You'll see in here these guys are in the Hundun phase. There's loads of different sort of areas in this one. There's 3 different, as I said, 3 different sections in the first. If we skip ahead a bit, we'll be able to see, yeah, there's a second one. I believe they've already killed the third in this footage. So if we move along again, we can go to Calling, which is the phase 2. This is Calling by herself. And then phase 3 is Calling and all of the P1 bosses at the same time. So it's very hectic. But it's a really, really cool boss. She is unbindable, but as we know, the 6th job binds can force bind through that. So 6th job will be really fantastic in Calling, especially when the extreme modes come out later on. But yeah, that is the July variant. We'll hop over to August. And August is basically just the sort of continuation of Saviour. Based on the patch notes that I've seen, and sort of bits and bobs in the Korean patch notes, it's kind of just going to be Saviour chugging along until the end of August. In that respect, the Hyperburning Creation event also ends when Saviour ends. So make sure to create your Hyperburning before the 29th. The burn itself lasts all the way until New Age, so you've got plenty of time to actually do it from dailies and Monster Park and stuff, but it's just make sure you create it first. If I was the content leader, I would put another EXP event in this August patch. We are owed a tactical relay, as I've written on the screen, that KMS have had that we don't have, so they could fit that here. There's also EXP events that I'll show in September that could go here as well. But for now, the sort of basic is just that it's Saviour chugging along until the end. But this is really good. Make sure to make use of all the event shops and stuff before the end of August. After that, and we'll swap BGM as well to sort of represent that we're changing. and we'll go to September. Now, September is a big one because there's some crazy stuff that happens in September. The first of which is going to be some boss changes, and this is why I've got some boss music in the background. But a load of bosses have been changed and had their mechanics sort of altered to make it much more player friendly. Magnus in particular has loads of cooldowns added to all of his different skills, so he's much more manageable to do, especially on low stat boss mules. Papalatus has had like a new 5-second boss mechanic added, and then a new clock time. Lucid can no longer like force TP you in phase 1 into dragon mechanic, so it's much easier to live. Gloom, Darknell, Black Mage have all had massive changes. Saren had her touch damage removed, and you can duck the Flame Slash, part 1 and part 2 of it. So it kind of, for people that don't have untouchable debuff, it makes soloing a lot more easy, especially if you're not able to reliably sort of move out of the way or iframe a lot of her mechanics. And Kalos has had like an animation change where the bombs are much clearer and less of them spawn. So this is a really, really good patch. The caveat with all of this boss changing is that the reboot bossing crystals change. So this is the patch, this September like filler patch, is when they introduce the 5% damage to the boss to get a full reward. So what that means is if you're partying a boss in reboot, you will have to deal 5% or more of the boss's total health to be eligible for boss loot. If you fail to do 5% damage, you will not receive anything, and the people that do over 5% will receive a reward as if you weren't in the party at all. So say I carry 2 people to Hard Damien, and they fail to do 5% damage, I will get a boss crystal as if I've soloed the boss, even though I had 2 people with me, just because that's how the system is going to work. A bit of a controversial change. A lot of people aren't really happy with this. In my opinion, it sort of forces a lot of people into party play, which is kind of being ignored. And the Korean devs, like Wonky in particular, they came out with a graph and said that like 40% of all boss carries in Reboot were doing like less than 1% damage or something, which is absolutely ludicrous. It's crazy. When you think about it like game health-wise, that's crazy, but that's just what happens when people start trading bosses, you know? It's just the way the progression works. Essentially, it just means you'll have to fund your boss mules a bit more before you start trading bosses. That's it. If you're an already established player, this basically won't affect you at all. It is just sort of a new player effect, because it's much harder to get carried right off the bat. But for people that don't want carries, that doesn't matter. So controversial change, but I think for the health of the game, it's probably better. After that, we have this sort of like crazy mule EXP event. I think if we do get this, it'll get reskinned, because this is like, it doesn't fit our like autumn timing, because this is very much like a springtime event. But this is the Strawberry Farm. It's a level 100 plus event where the mobs scale up based every time you level up, so you're always getting peak EXP constantly. So if you go in prepared, you can basically go from like I think Kobe and Steve did videos where they went from like 100 to 200 in like 25 minutes, which is absolutely ridiculous. A really, really good event. But again, if we do get this, I think we'll get it reskinned. After that, we have the Magic Slab. This is another EXP event that will probably happen in the second half of September after the Spiegelman's or Spiegella's Strawberry Farm. But this is like a customizable event buff, where based on what buffs you pick, you spend like the event currency to get that buff for the set amount of time that you input. So you can have boss damage, IED, EXP, mob damage. You can completely customize the buff as to how much you want it. It's 300. You cap 300 candies per day, and it costs 100 candy to use the buff each time, regardless of what parameters you set. But just keep in mind that the power and the length of the event buff will change based on like what you input. So a bit of tactical thinking needed on this one if you are trying to like optimize the best sort of thing. But it's really good for players that don't have like a lot of time, because you can just set like a massive boost to like 15 minutes and then just grind for 15 minutes and you're done for the day. Really, really cool concept. It'd be nice if they sort of did this with upcoming like EXP events as well. I really like this. Okay, and after that one, we'll turn off the gloom music because we're going to be moving area, and this one's going to be a bit weird, but bear with me. Yeah. Okay, so this is the music for it's ridiculous for Nautilus Night Troupe. So Night Troupe is an overseas content that GMS, TMS, CMS, they all get sort of yearly. You'll notice if you look at patch cycles that we usually get this in between sort of big events, because Korea, after Savior, they have their anniversary event, right? And our anniversary was not... It was like a few months ago, so we can't have an anniversary again. So Night Troupe kind of exists in that like space between to fill the gap between the content, to keep the 6-month content like cadence consistent with both servers. But Night Troupe is an absolutely fantastic event every time we've had it. It's absolutely incredible for grinding because it has like an EXP surge buff. And if we do get that returning with the Nautilus version, it will be absolute insanity. And I would recommend grinding super, super hard during that event because surge is just such a crazy buff. It's really, really good. Night Troupe also has a lot of mini games that come with it, and the event buffs themselves are really, really good. Like extra monster park, like EXP, rune, additional bonuses, all that sort of stuff. There's really, really good benefits in Night Troupe. It's always a fantastic event. But yeah, I really like Night Troupe. Night Troupe's really good. After that, being in October still, we will have a Halloween at the end. Halloween House will most likely definitely return because it's just a sort of general overseas event. Of course, it's going to come back. And then we'll have the Halloween kitty as normal as well. The Halloween events are basically the same as always. Like, it's just the way it goes. If anything, they're very consistent with the Halloween stuff. And then we are going to move on to November. And November is a really exciting one because there's some really cool stuff that happens in November. But first off, we're going to talk about the first half of November, which is when the Night Troupe event and the Burning Effect will end. Night Troupe will most likely stay until the 14th or 15th of November because we can see that the burning ends on the 11th or the 14th of November. So that's when the burning finishes as well. The rewards for the burning end in August, but the burn itself lasts until New Age, basically. But assuming Surge does come back, the way Surge works in Night Troupe is that it scales based on the event week and then it becomes stronger. So it's always sort of more beneficial to sort of grind in the later weeks of the event because it can go up to like higher amount of stacks, higher amount of EXP. Surge is just a really, really good buff, and I would really recommend taking advantage of it if it does come back with Night Troupe. So that's that. And this is what happens in November. Now, I'm confident enough to put a date on it. I know it's a bit ambitious. But my prediction is New Age is the 15th of November. The reason I say this is because when the Hyperburning ends on the 14th, that's a Tuesday. So the 15th is a Wednesday, which is patch day. So I'm like ridiculously confident that this is when New Age is going to happen. And as all of us know, if you've been like a sort of viewer of MapleStory content over the past sort of month or so, New Age is absolutely ridiculous. Sick job. There's loads of crazy stuff with New Age. I cannot wait for this patch. Like, unbelievable. We've got the new event map that comes with it, the Identisk Island. Shangri-La gets expanded to be a full map. Oz boxes drop from bosses instead of Tower of Oz. There's a new Oz ring type. There's a new symbol. The sick job system, dude. The Hexa system. Oh my, I cannot wait for this. The Korean test server is going to update to have the Hexa system soon in the next couple of weeks, so we'll be able to do a real deep dive in that, sort of have a look. There's 2 new areas as well, the first one being Asteria, the second one being Carcion. They look incredible. The EXP curve up to level 260 is basically cut in half. And there is a hyper burning that goes all the way to level 260, because 260 is when the sick job starts. Which, yeah, no, it's crazy. There's so many like skills that get updated. There's loads of different like special sick job skills themselves that are on a 6-minute cooldown and they're really strong. I would really recommend checking out Steve's videos on that. X3 Aaron, he's uploaded like all of the cinematics and stuff that come with them. It's really, really cool. But New Age is massive, dude. There's loads of crazy stuff. There's also area level changes, as you can see on the screen. Cernium and Burning Cernium are both 260. Arcus is 265. Odium gets reduced to 270. And then Shangri-La becomes the 275 area. With Asteria at level 280 and Carcion at level 285. I expect Asteria to launch in November and Carcion to launch in December, or Asteria launches in December and Carcion launches in January, because New Age is going to be quite a long event because it's going to be our winter event. We've also got a bunch of new modes added to, like Kalos and Kaling, extreme modes. There was new like pitch boss item enhancements that get dropped as well. There's loads of crazy stuff. New Age does come with people are calling it a nerf to reboot, which is the monster's HP and experience has been changed to be the same as Reg World. Because regular has lower HP values, so their mobs give less EXP. I've gone over this in videos before, but the damage calculation is also different in Reboot as well. So you need to be 10 levels over a monster to do 20% damage, whereas Reg server have to be 5 levels over. So Reboot is now getting that 5 level. So if you're not one-hitting, or if you are lacking damage to solo a boss, it's a buff damage-wise, but it's a nerf EXP-wise for Reboot. The developer said that this is kind of for the health of the game, to make both servers equal, but in my opinion, both servers were never meant to be equal in the first place. That's the whole reason why Reboot existed. But again, that's a topic for another video. Arcane symbols have been increased to like 20 per day per area. The sacred symbols in the first 3 regions have been increased. Monster Park daily EXP gets increased by like 30-40%. Rare inner ability gets completely removed. And again, the EXP gets cut in half, basically all the way to 260. So that tied in with all of like the daily quests, EXP going up, all that stuff. 260 gets so much quicker, especially if you're just like a daily player. I mean, you don't really grind much. It's a really, really good patch for those players. And then we'll go into December. December is just going to be the continuation of New Age. You know, I fully expect New Age to be like a free, almost 4-month patch like Ignition was. Ignition was really long. So I think New Age is going to be the same sort of thing. And then we'll have a Christmas event as well. But, man, I'm so excited for New Age. Oh, man. But this is going to be, like, for the next 6 months, this is going to be absolutely crazy for Maple. Especially with New Age, sort of, it's going to pop off with Sick Job and all that stuff. It's going to be crazy, and I'm really, really excited for it. So I hope you'll be there with me to sort of share in that moment. Thank you very much for watching. I want to say a big special thanks to Dimas and to Cheese Dog, my Maplers, the channel subscribers. If you want to join, have a look in the bottom and see if you can get your name up on the screen. And thanks to you for watching. Even if you don't become a channel member, I just want to say thank you very much. Please like and subscribe. And, you know, enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world, and have a good day. Thank you very much.